so much cooler than mine.
Hello, everybody, you beautiful stars. Courtney here with Stars of the Morning Light. And also, Dr. Ben Goins is back. Yay, thank you. I know it's been a while, and I am out of town currently while this airs. So enjoy, respect in the chat. Thank you, you beautiful stars and moderators. Ben, it's good to see you. Well, I see you often.
I just saw you the other day at the holistic fair.
Yeah.
That was fun.
The new chapters holistic wellness center in Dalton, Georgia. Ben and I were both working it. And we actually talked a little bit about your latest newsletter, because ladies and gentlemen, you beautiful stars, normally we talk about his newsletters that just came out monthly here. And it's about cadmium.
Cadmium.
Oh, see, I'm not even pronouncing
Cadmium.
cadmium.
People have a really hard time pronouncing it. I don't know why, but it's cadmium. Cadmium.
Because somebody else couldn't pronounce it, and then we heard it that way, and we just rolled with it probably. Because yeah. Ben, I read this article, and ladies and gentlemen, I will have it below. I thought it was one of your best articles because it was very black and white. He also put the periodic table there. So as I was reading, I kind of like scrolled back and forth to, oh, that's what's going on. Yes, that's what's going on. Having the table there, I could actually follow the math and track what you were talking about. So can you refresh and tell everybody what it's all about?
I can. So this is just kind of part of a detox series. So I've just been going through the different heavy metals to talk about them. And, you know, I've already done newsletters on detoxing aluminum, detoxing mercury, detoxing lead. And so I wanted to write one on, and I still have a whole bunch of other metals still to go, but this one is about detoxing the heavy metal known as cadmium. And yeah, I wrote a very just kind of short and sweet newsletter, kept it kind of simple, textbook, and it got really well reception. You liked it, and then at the fair, I had the woman that came up to my booth and says, "I just got tested and I have cadmium," and she was really So I mean, people were finding this newsletter. I don't think it's one of my best newsletters, but it's gotten really great reception, better than some of my even better newsletters. So I'm really excited about it because this has been really helpful newsletter for people, because a lot of people do get heavy metals testing. It'll say that they have cadmium and they're like, well, what do they need to know about it? And so this is what this newsletter answers.
So as I was reading, I will tell you, my mind kind of was like, isn't this more out of date in today's world? And then you literally start listing, well, it can be found here, it can be found here, it can be found here. So will you list that off to people, and if you know, maybe to the degree, because that when I started reading that section, I went, oh, so it is still very present in our current life.
Yeah. So whenever I'm looking at these heavy metals, I'm always thinking about, okay, where are you getting them in? Because my goal is to be detoxing toxins faster than they're coming in, but also if you can figure out where they're coming from and try to reduce the inflow of the toxins too, then you can help accelerate that. So yeah, cadmium. So like with lead, it's in pipes. With mercury, it's in the amalgams. But I was like, well, where is the cadmium? But it looks like that most of the cadmium, there's kind of two places. There's cadmium batteries. There's nickel cadmium batteries. Are very common. However, I don't think that they're a major source of exposure for people. Instead, it looks like that there's cadmium in fertilizers. So it looks like the main source of cadmium exposure that people are getting is just kind of some background exposure. It's in all your plants and fruits and vegetables you're eating, because it's a natural contaminant of zinc ore. So but the good news is your body is designed to absorb zinc and to keep the cadmium out. So, but there is cadmium in your foods, and even your healthy foods that you think are good for you, because they probably put fertilizers on them. And there's the zinc ore is one of the things. The zinc is good for you, but there's some cadmium contamination in it. So it's just like with these salts that are healthy for you, they still always have a little bit of background heavy metal. So, but I think for some people, it's really built up, and it's a problem. Your body has to be able to take the good and detox the bad. And when you have enough iodine, your body can do that. But when people are low on iodine and their body is using all their iodine for life support, they don't have the extra iodine for their body to flush out just the background amounts of other toxins that they're getting. And I think this might be how people are building up and getting high cadmium. Now, in other places, like in Japan, there was a thing I talk about called the Itai disease, where there was actually a mining company that was dumping the cadmium in the water, and it got in the water, then it absorbed in the rice, and then they were eating the rice, and then people were getting soft bones and having all kinds of terrible health problems from the cadmium. So sometimes it is, on purpose, and that could be going on too. But I think for most people, probably they're just getting it in their foods from fertilizers on the food.
Ben, that's kind of what, like I said, as I was reading, I started reading that I was like, because, for the just general Joe out there, even if we look at our fertilizer and what's in it, it might not all click with us of, oh, that could be harm. And it also, I will say, not just that it's harmful that way, but that then that goes to the food. It's like we don't follow the entire track of where all this stuff goes. And I'll say the majority of us, right? It also kind of inspired a thought, because you and your wife, you guys live a whole lot like off grid, organically. I would love if we also had maybe you on more times and than just once a month to maybe help people just talk about that kind of stuff. Like, how do you practically start doing that, or how, growing the vegetables, this, all of it. And because it does lead into that. If you're not building your own compost and doing this, it's in our food.
Well, our strategy is we're still busy building, so we haven't gotten much in the gardening. So instead, I've learned how to identify all the edible plants on my property. So we basically just forage, and there's so many things that are wild that you can just eat where we live. I don't want to get into that. It's kind of a side topic, but yeah,
Right.
yeah, we're just wild foraging our vegetables. So we don't like buy lettuce or anything, because we'll just pick it from the woods. There's all kinds of different things we can eat. So.
Yeah. Even conversations like that, we have so many. What it is, Ben, is you're a plethora of knowledge. You're a plethora that we can, talk about and then incorporate the iodine too. I want to remind everybody though about what you're saying of that. When your body has the appropriate amount of iodine, all the other parts can do what they're supposed to do. So you're saying zinc usually takes care of the cadmium, geez, I'm not going to say it right. Usually can flush it out with the help of also the iodine supporting all the others that are supposed to be working right. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. And yeah, your body is designed to absorb all these nutrients and keep out the bad stuff. It's just like with the aluminum. If you, it's okay to drink out of an aluminum can, because 99% of the aluminum you drink, your gut keeps out. And the problem was when they inject the aluminum right into your bloodstream. Same thing with cadmium. Your body's evolved to absorb the zinc and keep the cadmium out. So the deal with the periodic table, when you look at the periodic table, you see that cadmium is in the same family as zinc, and it's in the same family as mercury, which makes it really interesting because it's in the same family in between something that's really good for you and something that's really bad for you. And so just like you might expect, it has kind of intermediate properties. It's bad for you, but not as bad as mercury, but it can interfere with zinc. So that's the whole point, is your body has to keep the zinc and get rid of the cadmium, because there's always cadmium found in zinc ore to a small amount. But the good news is it means our body has a way to do that. You're not just injecting the cadmium into your veins. So it's going to be in the plants. Your body tries to keep it out. But it was more fancy than I realized. So I was predicting based on just the periodic table. You okay? That it would just be a zinc issue. However, when you look into it, you read my newsletter, there's other things too going on. It can interfere with calcium. It can interfere with magnesium. And the literature that I read, it looks like cadmium actually interferes with manganese nutrient the most. So there were some other nutrients that if you get those nutrients, however, when you have enough iodine in your body is able to absorb the good nutrients and flush out the bad stuff. The issue is that you need that. I'll just say it again, but like you have to have enough iodine for life support. Every cell in your body uses it for energy. And when your body has excess iodine, it can use that extra iodine to flush out any heavy metal, including cadmium. So when you're low in iodine, your body is just hoarding the iodine for life support, and it doesn't have the extra iodine it needs to detox. And when it doesn't have enough to detox, then those toxins can just build up. So I think a lot of people are just getting really low level exposure to cadmium, but it's been building up because they have iodine deficiency. But when you start getting enough iodine and have excess iodine, it'll start going back down, and you'll be detoxing the cadmium with the iodine faster than you're taking it in. Make sense?
Yeah, sorry, Ben, for that there. And it was like I took a breath and swallowed at the same time, so I apologize.
And then the other thing worth mentioning is since cadmium is very similar, it's in the same chemical family as mercury. And I've already written about how it's silver is an antidote to mercury. It's very likely that silver also suppresses cadmium toxicity. So the whole thing with using the silver and the gold, and I've written about how, so gold is an antidote to lead, silver is an antidote to mercury. One of those two things, be it silver or gold, is very likely to suppress cadmium. Looking at the periodic table, I would guess that it would actually be the silver, because cadmium is kind of similar to mercury, and silver suppresses mercury toxicity. However, sometimes it's the other way around. So it's hard to know. I don't know which one suppresses cadmium toxicity better, silver or gold, but it doesn't matter. With my system, you just use the iodine, the silver, and the gold, and it's going to get it no matter what. So
right. But I wanted to tell you too, because ladies and gentlemen, you beautiful stars. Wow. This is going to be a short video, by the way, folks, because Ben is busy and whoo. You know, when I was a kid and this would happen, I'd be like, arms up to get the airwaves going. We're both kind of busy today. Ben, somebody sent me an email talking to me about your system. That was lovely. Shelly, she might be in the chair right now. Excuse me, Shelly, I'm going to share some of your stuff. It's okay, I believe. She's the one with the metal plate in her head, the metal in her back, kind of throughout the body. Her husband has a metal bullet in his leg still. Well, she sent me an email that said that since she started your system, which I want to say was back in April, towards the beginning of April or so, she feels great. Just more energy. She always had a fogged brain, especially because of the plate. That's cleared up big time for her. It wasn't that she lost a bunch of weight, but she said, it's like she feels like she did because all these clothes are fitting her the way she's supposed to have her body. Which I'm thinking is the inflammation going down, and stuff like that. Her husband has more energy. Also, so I thought I wanted to share that with you, that we get such good reviews that even if we're talking about something that you might not have that much of in your body, you probably have a buildup of other stuff or lots of stuff that this system does. The IMedDo system actually does take care of all of it. And the energy level is what at least people my age and older are looking for too. Because life is very demanding still. And we're not at the same energy as we were in our 20s. So I wanted to share that with you, Ben. It was a great review.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I think I remember who you're talking about, and I think maybe your husband had like a lead bullet in his leg or something, so he was leaking lead poisoning. So I was like, yeah, I guarantee you my system's going to help you. And definitely the colloidal gold is a direct antidote to the lead, and it's going to clear up the brain fog from the lead. And it's interesting, other metal plates are like, an interesting thing, side note to this cadmium stuff is in my newsletter, I talk about, it really got into kind of copper and iron, some other things that I've been meditating. And I have an article on copper, I have an article on iron. But with the iron one, it was very confusing, people with like iron problems, but it is interesting that the cadmium can interfere with the iron. And usually you don't supplement iron. However, with cadmium poisoning, you can. So yeah. So there were some really interesting things with cadmium, and the main thing was that it interferes with manganese. And so, like the person who came to my booth the other day and knew she had cadmium poisoning, had her own manganese supplement she was taking that could also helps. And also, since it interferes with zinc, when you take more zinc, usually people's copper and zinc are in balance. So usually when if you had cadmium poisoning, it's screwing up your zinc, your copper is usually out of whack too. So there's just all these different minerals that get out of whack. And then when you start detoxing, they just go back to normal and you feel better. So it's that simple.
You have a lot of people that take, I don't even know where you would take a test like that for heavy metal toxins in the body.
She did one that was a hair sample analysis. Yeah, there are a lot of doctors who do. I don't bother doing the testing because I just fix the problem. I'm like,
Right.
like I don't, but in mainstream medicine, like they really love to do every kind of test, and they have to because they don't have any sense of intuition. So they have to do a test for everything before they do anything so they don't get sued for screwing up. Because like, okay, well, why did you do that? Well, if you don't have a test showing that you had a need to do that, then, they're doing it to cover their own butts to get their own test. But ultimately, at the end of the day, like a lot of times, like mercury tests, I'm like, do you have a metal filling in your mouth? You do. Okay, you have mercury poisoning. It's that easy. You don't need to spend hundreds of dollars on testing to know that you have mercury poisoning if you can just look in your own mouth and see a mercury filling there.
Right.
So
Right.
like the guy, if you know there's a lead bullet in your leg, you
Right.
have lead poisoning. You don't have to spend testing, but a lot of people do love the testing. And so there's like urine analysis testing, there's hair analysis testing. They have different accuracies because like the levels of these toxins, it's like with the hair analysis, it's whatever the level is in your blood at the time that it's going on. So it doesn't necessarily reflect. Anyway, they're not really that accurate, but you definitely, with heavy metals, there are some hair analysis tests you can do. And I don't do it. I think I have a naturopathic doctor friend who does them, and I think a lot of mainstream doctors like to do the testing for the heavy metals. But I don't care because like my system will detox any heavy metal you got. So I don't care if you've got lead or mercury or cadmium, just do the IMedDo detox system, replenish the iodine, your body will take in the nutrients, flush out the toxins, and you'll just feel better. It's just the $300 solution to the problem rather than some of these tests, like the heavy metal test probably costs like $200. So you want to spend $200 on the test or you just want to fix the problem?
Or just fix it up. That's what, yes, excellent, yes. Because even if, so what, you find out you have it, then what? Just fix the problem because everybody's got it. Everybody's got stuff going on. Right. You can't be in today's world without it not having heavy metals in your body.
But it's great for the people who did the test because like the lady who did the test and her test says, hey, you have high cadmium. She was really happy that I wrote a newsletter on cadmium and she was already pretty savvy. She was already taking manganese. She was looking for, she was like, it's not working. She needs something else that would work. And so I explained to her how the system will work. And I really can't wait for feedback because it's definitely going to fix her problems.
Yeah, definitely.
And so here's what it was. She basically her intuition was telling her that she had mercury poisoning.
Oh.
Okay? However, her heavy metal testing was showing that there wasn't mercury. So her tests were saying that she didn't have mercury. However, her intuition was telling her she did have mercury. But her tests were also saying she has cadmium, and cadmium's in the same family as mercury. So I think I don't know whether she had mercury poisoning or not, but she definitely had cadmium poisoning, and it would have a lot of the same symptoms probably as mercury poisoning.
Right.
So that was kind of interesting to hear her talk about how I just feel like I have mercury poisoning, even though like I can't find any. But the cadmium could explain that because looking at it, cadmium's in the same family as mercury. So
right. Wow. Okay. Hey, Ben, going back to also Shelly with the plate in her head, I have to tell you, I can even verify what she's saying because I do Akashic readings for Shelly. And when many of them that I've done, I can, because when I do readings, I feel whatever's going on with that person. Mm-hmm. Or even if I go to do healing, I can feel, do you have a headache right now? Or, whatever's going on. I have to say, I didn't notice it until I got her feedback in that email about your system. Now that it's been 6 weeks or whatever it's been, I haven't felt her headaches when I've been doing her readings. So it definitely is, I can verify that it's working, not just through her words, but If I'm not feeling what's going on in that body, then, it's working. It's definitely working. Ben, where you're going through the entire periodic table of heavy metals.
Yeah, I'm kind of jumping around, but that is my if I live long enough, yeah, I'll get through all of them. All the relevant ones anyway. A lot of the bigger elements don't really matter because they're just like radioactive stuff you'd only find in nuclear. But a lot of the lower ones are nutrients, and the mid-range ones are like what's good for you, what's bad for you. It's not really clear what's good for you or bad for you looking at the periodic table. You have to also have the outside knowledge as a biochemist. Like you wouldn't know just looking at the periodic table like how good sodium and potassium are for you if you didn't know what their biological uses were. So, but still you can kind of look at the periodic table and it gives you clues. And the big clue that it gave with this cadmium was that, okay, well, this is interesting. This metal is in between zinc, a nutrient, and it's the same family as mercury, a poison. So why is something so good for you and so bad for you? And this thing in the middle, in between the two, what is it going to be? Good or bad? It turns out it's bad. But
Right.
What's going on in the body? And it looks like your body is trying to use zinc. And there's other pathways I talk about, especially my detox Lead with Gold newsletter, about how there's 3 main signaling pathways in the body. It's zinc, calcium, and magnesium.
Right.
And anything that interferes with those pathways, it's just interfering with thousands of pathways. And a lot of these heavy metals interfere. So those pathways are positively 2 charged +2 pathways. So like calcium is Ca2+ in the body, magnesium Mg2+, zinc Zn2+. So it's these +2 ions that your body's using them. And the reason, my belief, is why a lot of these heavy metals are so toxic, because like lead and mercury and cadmium are all, lead is Pb2+, mercury Hg2+, and cadmium Cd2+ is preferred 2+ form. So I believe that this positively 2 charge +2 charge form of this heavy metal is interfering with those pathways that are, so basically it's a +2 charge pathway interference molecule is what it's doing. And that's how I can kind of understand it. That's how I understand both lead and mercury. And because cadmium is similar to mercury, that's also how I'm understanding what it's doing. And sure enough, with the manganese disruption, manganese is a nutrient Mn2+. It's also a +2 charge. So it looks like cadmium is interfering with another +2 charge pathway as well, the manganese as well as the magnesium.
Right. And beautiful stars, if you want to know more about that, I believe that was in it was, well, in one of the videos here with Dr. Ben, I think not the last one, but the one previous, where he really breaks down the numbers and what's going on there and whatnot. How many, wow, I guess I have not looked at a periodic table in a while. Have you noticed that is becoming the kind of the running theme of whatever you're looking at heavy metal is, it's blocking, it's the 2 charge stuff. Is that like an ongoing theme?
Yeah, that's a theme I figured out when I was looking at and thinking about how gold detoxes lead. And it's also a theme I've learned as a biochemist, because when I was in graduate school, I was studying calcium signaling. And then later I learned how equally magnesium and zinc signaling are equally as important as calcium signaling. And then I realized how anything that screws up those pathways is extremely toxic. And that's why these heavy metals are toxic. And it's also why fluoride is toxic. Fluoride is negatively charged. However, it binds to and disrupts calcium. So it disrupts calcium signaling. So yeah, there's many ways to disrupt these pathways, but anything that does disrupt these pathways is very toxic.
Yeah, I actually
that is a theme.
And I thought about you because I'm traveling, and today I was like, oh, I gotta just grab some toothbrush and toothpaste instead of like bringing. And as I'm looking at the toothpaste, you were in my head.
Don't get the fluoride. Don't get the fluoride toothpaste. Right. Fluoride free only.
I don't even have to look at anything, bud. Like I'm talking to you in my brain going, it's only for a week. Like But that's what happens too, is we, life for us humans, even when we know better, or like, let's say we order water from a restaurant, or like we said, we're learning this cadmium is in basically in our food because it's in the fertilizer. So even when we're trying to do great, we still mess up. Or even when we're too busy, we gotta just grab some toothpaste so we don't smell bad around people, meaning, I mean, when I get back home, I'm taking at least 3 days and I'm detoxing and detoxing and detoxing from everything, even energetically wise. And of course, I use your system, so I know I'm protected, even going into it, even if it's because the thing too, I've noticed just in traveling all over the place, every different area has different stuff going on. So their food up there is different than ours. If you order a salad even, so it's like having, as we're going into the season of traveling, already having the body somewhat protected. And I know we've talked about it before, like food poisoning and stuff, to have that already protected or have it available for all these different areas and people you might come in contact. And from what's in the air to the food to you're moving so fast, you're putting fluoride in your body again. All of it. I really suggest if you can order it, you can talk to Ben. He does free consultations via his website. I will have the link below, and you can order it from me. You can order it from him. But I really, really do suggest it's a 6-month supply, everyone. That would kick off your summer. You'd be perfectly fine to go anywhere you chose. That's for me what I'm looking at, because I'm going far and I don't know those people up there. I don't know what they have. I don't know what they have done.
I'm tickled pink that I have gotten you interested in chemistry through these talks. And you asked about the periodic table, and there is a trend that's not obvious on the periodic table, but it's one that I kind of discovered and I've talked about with you before. And it's this really cool trend I figured out as a biochemist looking at the periodic table. And it looks like, in general, elements 34 and below, more of them are not toxic or good for you nutrients. And in general, elements larger than element 34 are toxic.
Right.
And that's kind of the trend that I was never taught in school as a chemist or anything, but that's a trend I've seen. And then the only exceptions, there were just 3 elements. So my theory is, and I'm trying to verify this going through the periodic table, but my theory is that all of the elements larger than 34 are toxic, except for the 3 that I use. The iodine, silver, and gold are non-toxic. There are exceptions. However, but in general, everything else that's larger, selenium is 34. Everything larger than selenium is like generally toxic, except for the 3 that I use. And everything below that, not all of them, because some of them are still toxic, like aluminum can be, but most of the ones that are less than 34 are usually have some kind of function in the body. So that's a kind of really macroscopic periodic table trend that I figured out as a biochemist.
And so the gold, silver, and iodine is above 34, but they're the only 3 that are beneficial for you.
Yeah.
Well, then sense 3, Trinity, 3, the power of 3 would be placed in those higher numbers to be like, this is your solution to all of the madness around. If you're just looking at the periodic table, that power of 3. I mean, that's it right there. That would make sense from a spiritual approach. And of course, we're going to take the silver, gold, iodine, put it in the mix of all this heavy metal, heavy density, heavy metal, and use it to, this is your solution. This is how to clean it out. This is how to not have to live amongst all this.
And my previous theory that I've kind of refined was that it looks like, because that's the question is, okay, well, if these are not toxic, why aren't they? And it looks like they're not. Like iodine is not exactly a metal. It's a metalloid that can detox metals. but it's
Right.
not exactly even a metal itself. It's kind of weird. It's this in-between thing that the body uses to detox everything. It behaves chemically like oxygen. And then for silver and gold, it looks like, you know, copper, silver, and gold are in the same family. They're highly electrically conductive. So my theory for a long time was that basically the heavy metals were blocking electrical flow in your body. And the reason that copper, silver, and gold, the noble metals, were restoring energy flow. So that's why I believe silver and gold is good for you. But then I've been able to refine that theory some. Like with the gold, I figured out how the size of the monoatomic gold that's released from the colloidal gold is actually the same size as like a lead atom, and it's bumping it out based on size, not charge. So it's able to clear up that +2 charge pathway to let your body signaling get back into whack. So yeah, I have these overarching theories and looking at the periodic table as a chemist, and I've been refining them for years, and I've been making progress because I really feel like it's a huge amount of progress. I have a really good understanding. It was really nice writing this newsletter about cadmium because I really felt like I understand it. Because like, okay, it's kind of like lead, it's kind of like mercury. I know about lead, mercury. I know about zinc. I've written newsletters on all three of those. And so I was really able to get down on it. But then it also opened up some pathways of some other things I need to talk about because I haven't written a newsletter yet on manganese nutrient. So I need to do that. And
Yeah,
and
I don't, manganese is not the same as magnesium.
no,
It's
there's two different things. One is magnesium and one is manganese.
oh
And
wow.
the names are confusingly similar because of their history. And they both are really similar. One's Mg2 plus, one's Mn2 plus. And I've written about magnesium. I have not written about manganese yet, but if you look at any multivitamin, you'll see it has both magnesium and manganese. And most people, because of that name similarity, most people are confused about those nutrients, including myself. So I'm going to get to so anyway, writing this newsletter, I've made a commitment to myself. I'm going to have to write a newsletter about the manganese nutrient in the future for sure.
Cool. That was going to be what I asked you, Ben, is, where are we headed? You had mentioned you still want to do nickel.
Yeah, I still need to write about nickel detox. I need to write about arsenic detox. I think I was going to do maybe an arsenic detox article pretty soon. So I want to write about some detox ones, and then I switch back and forth between writing about detoxing heavy metals and between other nutrients. There's a whole bunch of things I would love to talk about, but I can just kind of do one topic at a time. So this month was cadmium, and the interesting finding with this was really going back into the copper and iron stuff that I've written a long time ago, and there was really a conundrum with the iron where it looks like usually you don't supplement iron. But when you have cadmium poisoning, you can, which is different. And then, what's I going to go with that? Oh, and then with the calcium, because anything that interferes with zinc, there's a zinc and copper balance in the body. So anything that screws up your zinc also screws up your copper. A lot of people get when they're low iodine, they usually get low zinc and high copper. And you can cut that copper down by taking gold, because one of my theories, my very old theory, I've had this for like 8 years now, is that the gold actually can replace copper in your body. So when you have low zinc, high copper, you can take more gold, fixes that. You can take more zinc if you can. You can take more manganese if you want. But really what you really need is just the iodine. Once you get that iodine, then usually that balance gets back into whack.
Hey, Ben, something internally that when you said that the gold can reduce the copper and replace, so I will tell you something internally in my body went, yes, that's it. So
yeah, I know that's true. And a lot of people use that, and that's why my system will help. But it's indirect, because I think they're like, okay, well, my copper's high. And some people in the Northeast, it's because they have copper pipes. So they're just getting too much in their water. But for most people, it's because they have low zinc. They have well, they do have low zinc too, but they have low iodine, and their zinc and copper balance is off. You're supposed to have more zinc than copper in your body. So, but is it because you actually don't have enough zinc, or is it because your zinc pathway is blocked by heavy metals? And for a lot of people, it's just blocked. And when you unblock it by detoxing, then it goes back to normal.
Right.
So just taking more of these different minerals doesn't always work for people when it's the wrong one. So like just trying to eat less copper and eat more zinc doesn't always help with cadmium poisoning. Instead, getting the iodine, the silver, and the gold helps, which is not something that anyone would know other than me, because I've been doing this, and I no one else is doing what I'm doing with this detox that I'm aware of. So
no, I'm you that because my husband got very deep into what you do, learning about it, trying to study it. He's just, an average guy. He got very deep and went for like 4 years or longer into trying to find the right stuff and then he met you. And when he met you, it's like his whole life became good again, because you were really the only one that is not just say, because here's the thing, everybody just does iodine. Everybody just throws iodine out there as if your system, though, the gold, the silver, and the iodine, it all makes logical sense, scientific sense,
Intuitive sense too. And
intuitive
spiritual and intuitive sense.
spiritual sense. It's making all of the logic come together. It really is, in a way, kind of like science magic to me, of you and how we are supposed to. They probably knew all this stuff long ago, like how you research, and we, so thank you for bringing it back. And thank you for.
You're very welcome. And it really is true. I think maybe I knew how to do this in a previous life or something. I think that may have helped bring it back or something. But a lot of this knowledge and medical knowledge in ancient Egypt was all just wiped out. And most of it was wiped out with just changes in religion, because every different religion had their own healing. Whenever a new religion would come along, they would wipe out all the healers of the old religion and say that was wrong. But sometimes they would throw the baby out with the bathwater. And there were a lot of good ideas, because it's clear the Egyptians knew about the connection between gold and the positive effect it had on the spine and nervous system for a long time, at least 300 BC, probably way longer than that.
Do you know the Ankh, the Egyptian Ankh, you actually would wear like a string around your neck and it would fall down your back.
The Minot necklace. Yes, I know what you're talking about.
Okay, so I didn't want to use the term because I'm trying to explain it, that yes, it would, and it would be in gold. I mean, they were using, Ben, you're bringing back the old ways, connecting it to the 21st century, breaking it down for us, and everything you are doing, going through the periodic table, to me, honestly, I like that. I need it. I like it. I like how I can then track with it. Like, he literally is showing me that and the fact that those three, gold, silver, and iodine, are above the 34 and are part of the heavy metal, that to me means that, yes, this is your solution. We make it so complicated when the periodic table is trying to be like, right here, just look right here. And that's what you do. You meditate on the periodic table. It's amazing. It's great.
Yeah, I've done a lot of meditating on the periodic table as a spiritually motivated chemist, I guess. And that's a little different. And people don't realize that all of science, even chemistry, they're all religions. And if you look into the history of them, chemistry came from alchemy, which came from ancient Egypt too. So and people were trying to use the gold for spiritual purposes. But I really think a lot of this gold knowledge has been known and has just been suppressed. But I don't know. It's coming back. It's coming back with a vengeance. I mean, people know that silver is so healing now. A lot of people didn't know how good the gold was, but people are learning. And like we were saying, the iodine is great, but I'm really finally starting to get an understanding as to why these three things go together, what the purpose is. One thing I want people to know is iodine by itself is wonderful and great. The one thing it's missing is it's not anti-inflammatory. Okay. So if you just take iodine by itself, you will start flushing out all the toxins, but all those toxins are going to be causing inflammation on their way out. And the iodine is not anti-inflammatory. It's germicidal. It's great for it. Does many things. It will detox any heavy metal, but it's not anti-inflammatory. So the big thing with my system is by using the iodine with the two anti-inflammatories, because the colloidal silver is anti-inflammatory in the body and the colloidal gold is anti-inflammatory in the brain.
Right.
So that was really the aha why I put these three things together, because by using the iodine with the anti-inflammatory silver and gold, you can get a full body protection from the toxins as they're coming out. And so that's really in a nutshell what this system really is and why you use those three things together. It's very important, you know, because if you just do the iodine and the silver, it's really great, but you're not protecting your brain as good as you could. If you're just using the iodine and the gold, you'll really flush stuff out of your brain, but you're not protecting the rest of your body on this way out. The stuff goes from the brain to the rest of your body and then on the way out. It's really interesting. You mentioned the Minot necklace and how they put it back there. It seems like your brain really loves to detox right there.
Yes.
Like chunky crystals. I was giving my wife a massage yesterday and just like crunch, crunch, crunch. There's some like little chunky crystals of detox stuff. Her brain is, you know, the brain and spine pushes out right there in the bottom of your shoulders. And you gotta get massage therapy. You gotta drink water to get it out of the muscles, pull it out of your skin, pee it out. And it's a process. Things just don't go from the brain right to out. They go right there. And so many people have knots there.
Yeah.
Oh, and the other thing really important with that necklace stuff and why I've been meditating on a lot is because wireless protection. Okay. I really believe in this modern world where we have all the cellular, the Wi-Fi, the 5G and stuff like that. I think we're approaching something that maybe the ancient Egyptians were doing, maybe with their pyramids, and they were broadcasting Wi-Fi or something. I don't know what they were doing exactly, but there seems to be a legend that was passed down that you have to wear this necklace to protect your heart.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and my understanding is, since I know that silver actually is protective of like this wireless radiation, I think that maybe when you're in cities and you're around all this Wi-Fi and 5G, you really need to wear a silver necklace, silver and gold, ideally, necklace to protect your neck, your thyroid, your hair around the front, the heart. But they really had it. Their necklaces went on the backside, which is interesting because that is sort of like the spine part where the spine's detoxing. And so maybe I'm supposed to be wearing my necklace flipped around the other way. I don't know. So I'm still meditating on that.
You should have one front and the back, maybe.
Yeah, maybe, but it does seem like the Egyptians knew something about protecting your body from wireless radiation that we have kind of lost. And I'm trying to rediscover that knowledge. I'm so close, but I'm not quite there yet.
I will tell you, this can be maybe a great conversation that we'll do at a different time. Ben, the very first tattoo that I've ever put on me, which I know it's like tattoos, okay, was I have the Eye of Horus right in the middle of my shoulder blades. It was
really.
Yes, when I was 18 years old or whatever, when you can legally do it, covered in flames.
Oh, wow.
Actually blue flames, for that purpose, for the protection of that center area. I didn't put an Ankh there, but I put the Eye of Horus there because it was more for me, you know. But yeah, front and back, because they would put it in their back, but then they also had stuff in the front too. So yeah, definitely. Yeah, that could totally be a conversation at some point. You know, I really appreciate the fact that, you know, looking at all these angles and all these different sides and really going back to the old ways, but bringing them to the 21st century. And you had said I do want to have you on at some point just to talk about how Edgar Cayce inspired you in a lot of ways, because he would do his readings and be saying stuff that people weren't even thinking about. And that to me is how I see you, Ben.
Well, Edgar Cayce basically invented nascent iodine, is what you need to know.
Oh,
so yeah, he did.
We're gonna have
he downloaded it. He was like
told about it.
I think we can talk about that real fast before the end of the show. This will be a wonderful nugget for the people who listen to the end. But yeah, so you know, my iodine is nascent iodine. I've got a paper on what nascent iodine means and everything, but basically nascent means newly born, where it's a diatomic molecule of iodine. You energize it, breaks apart into two molecules of nascent iodine. That's the chemistry meaning. But also there's a way to actually energize it. He downloaded how to do that.
Oh.
And then they used to sell that. It was called atomidine or something. But then that company went out of business. And then the guy, magnesium iodine, I used to be their head chemist, they patented a way to kind of mass produce the process. But ultimately, they wanted to look real scientific, but really what they got it from, it did come from Edgar Casey, and they acknowledged that. And so they were from a very kind of woo-woo crowd, and they were trying to make it look more scientific. But the iodine science always has this, this dirty little secret of, we really, what we're doing, we got it from the psychic guy.
Yeah.
So,
There you go.
So it doesn't matter how but basically so Edgar Casey said that there's a way to energize the iodine and make it better for human body. And it turns out he was right. And we don't completely still know why, but what we do know is that the nascent iodine is effective in microgram doses where you use milligram doses of the other. So you can it's more effective in smaller doses, which is wonderful because with iodine, you need to dose ramp. You need to start low and go higher.
Right.
And the old way, when you had to use the milligram doses of like the Lugol solution, it would just make people sick because they would detox too fast.
Right.
And there wasn't really an easy way to have something that was more effective at a lower dose that you could dose ramp well.
Okay.
So in a nutshell, that the Edgar Casey stuff is a very important part ultimately of the invention of nascent iodine, which I did not invent nascent iodine.
Right.
I took the best nascent iodine and then I made it better.
Right.
Because the usage instructions were incorrect. Like they were saying, put it in your mouth and swish it around. I'm like, that's not safe for 50% of people with the metal fillings. They'll detox the mercury too fast. And look, it'll go right through the skin. So just tell people to put it on your skin. And so, so I took the best nascent iodine, I made it better. But then what I invented was using it in a system with silver and gold. But nascent iodine had been around before I got on the scene. But I was able to verify it really is true that the way that you do the iodine, the way the psychic guy came up with, actually works better. And that's been verified over and over and over again.
Which is amazing. Which is amazing. So to end with this, you beautiful stars, anybody that's listening out there, that is the difference, is Ben created a system that helps the body in the whole holistic way with the gold and silver added with the iodine. And Ben, we will have you back on, of course. I mean, I love talking with you, Ben. Everyone here does. This system is truly to help us walk into the new earth and triumphantly, in my opinion. I really do think so. So thank you, Ben. I know we're both busy folks, so I guess we'll sign off. Is there one more thing you want to say, my dear?
I would say, I just think I'm just tickled pink that reading this newsletter, it got you interested in the periodic table and looking at things from a different angle. And I think people should look at things from multiple angles. You should look at from the spiritual angle as well as the scientific angle, because a lot of people get stuck in one or the other and they don't realize that when you find something that's true, it's true from all different angles. So the more angles you look at it, the more you can verify that it's true.
I completely agree. Science magic. Science
magic, sure.
We two can live very good together, very well. So thank you, Ben. I guess I will see you and talk to you soon, you beautiful stars. I will see you and talk to you soon. I know Ben is busy and I will be traveling, but we will try to keep in touch. And by, I will say the middle of June, we'll be all rock and rolling again live here with probably the Wednesday, the 14th of live Edgar Casey life skills studies. So I will see you then at 2 p.m. Thank you, Dr. Ben. It's been a pleasure, my dear. Thank you. Bye, darling.
Bye-bye.